Today is Saturday, May the 12th, 2018. Hello, and welcome to Weekly Astrology Notes for the week of May 13th through the 20th, 2018. Highlights for this week. Well, it's a big week ahead. Uranus enters Taurus this week, and that's going to bring in a whole new set of changes. The start of a new 7-year cycle, and I'll provide a brief summary of what to expect. We start the week on Mother's Day, the 13th, with Mercury conjunct Uranus to bring a little enlightenment to the day, and there also could be a change in plans. As well, Mercury enters Taurus on Sunday. And then on Monday, Moon in Taurus brings all nice aspects to make it an easygoing day. On Tuesday, we've got the new moon, brings the start of the new monthly cycle, and then soon after, Uranus enters Taurus, and later in the day, Mars enters Taurus. So that's 3 planets entering Taurus in 2 days. There's a lot of focus on Taurus these days. And then Mars square Uranus, a very volatile aspect. It will be in effect through October due to Mars going retrograde as well as Uranus. And it'll be happening early Wednesday, although it should be most in effect this Tuesday evening. And this aspect brings the need to confront anything or anyone that's different from you. So it brings a lot of fights, especially amongst people in the same group. So Wednesday could be a rough day. On Thursday, the 17th, Moon in Gemini in the early part of the day has us catching up on things, more talkative, and once the Moon enters Cancer in the afternoon, we begin the best 2 days for planting this season. And that's right, on Friday, the first quarter moon in Cancer, with fantastic accompanying aspects like Moon trine Jupiter and Moon trine Neptune, make it a spectacular time to plant your garden this year. So mark that day, Friday the 18th. And also on that day, we're going to have the aspect Mercury trine Saturn. Brings a clear, sober mind and good judgment. A good day to write or make a speech. Also a conservative day in politics. Friday evening is a great night to socialize as well, preferably in a home environment with the Moon in Cancer. And then moving into the coming weekend, on Saturday the 19th, Venus enters Cancer and makes a sextile to Uranus. Excellent aspect for social endeavors. Time for doing something different as well. Learning something new. Meeting some new people. Maybe someone who could bring some changes into your life. It's a good aspect for learning and teaching, sharing of useful knowledge. It also brings an ambitious yet very easygoing attitude. It's perfect for the weekend activities. And then on Sunday, the 20th, Moon in Leo makes it a good day for recreation, and the Sun enters Gemini. New York has resigned, and a little bit about John McCain, as well as Bill and Hillary. So let's get started with Sunday the 13th. I'm going to go over this briefly since I did it last week and there's a lot to cover this week. We start in the morning with a Mercury conjunct Uranus. You'll see here at 29 degrees of Aries. The last thing that Uranus does before it leaves Aries. Okay, so today is a day to think differently. We're ambitious. We've got lots of ideas. So many you might want to write them down. Able to overcome mental limitations. Although it does bring a lot of disruptions, possibly a change in your plans, although it does facilitate the sharing of ideas and understanding with one another. It's a good aspect for writing. It's a little bit more volatile than usual with the moon aspects to accompany it, but basically the repressed energies burst forth, and it's all for the better to help you break out of stagnant patterns and try something new, maybe change your mind. Be careful while driving or using machinery, more accident prone. Also, Mercury enters Taurus, and it will be there until May the 29th. So it's in its last step in the 12-step process that begins with Gemini. So Mercury in Taurus is a little bit slow and can be a little bit stubborn and lazy. More concerned about what other people think about you, although it's good for persuasion. The thing about Taurus is the trines to Capricorn present opportunities for material enterprises, success, and earning money. Kind of goes well with all the Taurus energy we've been getting these days. And the two aspects in the morning on Sunday, they do present a little bit of volatile energy. The moon square Mars, as well as the moon conjunct Uranus, brings disruptions, but it's usually for the better. Just help you break out of stagnant patterns. And then the moon enters Taurus in the morning, so we're going to be more steadfast for the next couple of days. And then in the late evening, moon conjunct Mercury, a really wonderful aspect, happens once each month, where the subconscious and the conscious mind are working together. We're more instinctual and adaptable, talkative and curious. It goes well with the Mercury conjunct Uranus, and it kind of brings out the inner child in us. Makes for a nice Sunday evening. So moving along to Monday, the 14th, should be a really nice, easygoing day with the moon in Taurus, especially in the afternoon with the moon sextile Neptune. Feeling lazy, good time to relax. As well, the moon opposition Jupiter, kind of feeling exuberant and not really interested in duty and obligation. And then late in the evening, the moon trine Pluto. Very nice aspect. Emotions are active, have a strong burst of energy. You want to do things around the home. It's also a time to make a change for the better in your life or in the life of others. Okay, moving along to Tuesday, the 15th, we've got the new moon. It'll be at 22 degrees 36 minutes of Taurus. So it's the start of the new monthly cycle, an inspirational time when we feel more in touch with our instincts. Time to give birth to this month's plans. It's in Taurus with a trine to Pluto and to Mars and the opposition to Jupiter. So we're looking at a wonderful set of accompanying aspects for this month. Lots of opportunity for financial success through efficient use of material resources. We sense an opportunity to make a change for the better, make a difference in our own lives and the lives of others. We're better at utilizing the resources at our disposal and thereby getting more out of what we have. So focus on efficient use of what you have this month. Bring all of your talents to bear. Don't let any of your resources sit underutilized. Otherwise, they might wither and die of stagnation if you do. So take stock of what you have and be sure to get all of your material possessions in good working order so that you can get the most value out of them. And of course, start your garden this week. Look at your chart. Very important to do this each month. Note which house the new moon is occurring in for you. This month, you will need to focus your activities on things related to that house. Okay, so now we're moving along to Uranus entering Taurus. Finally, after all this time. Last occurrence was June 1934 to May 1942. So if you're old enough, maybe you can remember back to that time. One of the biggest astrological events of the year begins a new 7-year cycle that will be characterized as revolution of our personal values. In the same way that the last 7 years has been a revolution of our personal identity. You know, Taurus rules personal values. That often comes down to your personal possessions, like money. But it also includes the concept of your personal space, or your comfort zone. So people become more enlightened about money, seek a whole new way of dealing with the issue of equality, the difference between the haves and the have-nots. So we should expect to see some enlightened actions to deal with poverty worldwide. People will also seek unusual ways to earn money, become very adaptable in their quest for money. We will see more people starting their own business. There'll be a lot of sudden gains and losses, dramatic changes in the stock market. And this will affect the worldwide monetary system. Already many nations are leaving the U.S. fiat dollar, and international trade is now being done in other ways. These changes have been in the works for years, and now they're just coming into full effect. It will be a chaotic period economically, similar to the last period of Uranus and Taurus. And the opposition to Scorpio means the people are confronting the banks and demanding an equitable redistribution of collective resources. Socialism will be reworked to fit the modern era. During this time, a number of social experiments with regards to money will arise, such as a renewed interest in barter to sidestep the transfer of physical money. Money will take on an abstract value that will be hard to pin down in physical amounts. So people will need to find ways to bring some security to their finances. So barter and new forms of trade will become a valuable means of survival for many people. There may be international trade wars because people don't want to share as much of what they have. Uranus rules Aquarius, which squares Taurus. So Uranus is more concerned with using what it has for itself while it's in Taurus, a little more selfish. And it brings up the whole issue of the Aquarius to Taurus square, which is a challenge to the equal distribution of wealth in society. People will feel the need to define clear boundaries, so the group needs do not overwhelm personal needs. And for nations, all of that translates into trade wars. Okay? Also, Taurus is wholesome and the physical things necessary to live a harmonious, wholesome lifestyle. As such, just like the sign of Cancer, Taurus is related to food. So we will see changes in the food industry. It will be a very prosperous time for the health food industry, health food stores and restaurants, of movement away from GMO and processed foods and more into organic, healthy foods. Vegetarians and vegans will be leading the charge for dramatic changes, and most of the impetus will likely come from women. After all, Taurus is ruled by Venus, the same symbol as the female, and Uranus in Taurus is sure to give women a much stronger voice for change in the world. Also, Uranus rules computers and new technology. Taurus is your personal space, so Uranus in Taurus, computer technology will intrude into our personal living space in ways we never thought imaginable. And this may have negative consequences on our personal privacy as we see a shift towards social control over your personal space. And of course, there will be a big push in the opposite direction for more freedom. Ownership of your personal data. You don't want it to be sold to others who use it to do things that you don't approve of. We've seen a lot of this lately with regards to Facebook selling personal data. We'll see more of that kind of thing. Basically, it's a time for a new set of personal values to live by. For some, that may mean a new group of friends and associates may come into your life, as is sometimes the case whenever Uranus enters a new sign. And Uranus enters Taurus with a bang. Now, usually, we wait for the Sun conjunction to mark the day when an outer planet enters a sign, but that's not until April of next year. However, we do see some really important aspects for Uranus to make folks stand up and take notice right away. Mercury enters Taurus just 2 days earlier, and the aspect Mercury conjunct Uranus is still in effect on Tuesday, which brings the conscious attention to whatever is happening with Uranus. It brings a moment of greater awareness and enlightenment, expansion of consciousness, giving us possibly a prophetic vision of what is to come. So that's a nice start for Uranus and Taurus. And even more unquiet is Mars enters Aquarius on the same day. So we get Mars square Uranus concurrently. And that's going to last for several months due to the retrograde motion of both planets. It's a big bang to mark the entry of Uranus into Taurus, possibly bring a big event. And we get 3 passes of this one. So this aspect, like I said, it's going to be in effect until October. So for sure, this will mark the entry of Uranus into Taurus. And of course, Uranus is not quite finished with Aries yet. It goes retrograde on the 8th and re-enters Aries for 4 months from November 7th until March the 19th of next year. I'm sure to talk more about Uranus and Taurus as the days go on. That's just sort of a brief summary to give you an idea of some of the topics that we're looking at with regards to that. And continuing with the moon aspects on Tuesday, we've got a strong burst of energy in the afternoon with the moon trine Mars. And then the moon enters Gemini in the afternoon. So it goes into its death cycle in Gemini. Lots of mental activity, catching up on missed connections. More talkative, time to write and make speeches. Able to move from one thing to the next. Restless mind needs to slow down. As well, Mars enters Aquarius on Tuesday evening. It'll be going retrograde down to 9 degrees, at 9 degrees on June the 26th. And then it'll station back down into Capricorn on August the 12th. And so we're going to have a little more time in Capricorn, just like Uranus and Aries. But for right now, Mars entering Aquarius is a pretty big deal because of the square to Uranus. And Mars in Aquarius gives us a sharp mind, motivated by intellectual endeavors. It's time to break from tradition and adapt to new situations. Very principled and willing to fight for a cause. Mars in Aquarius will challenge authority if the right reason presents itself. It looks like Mars is in for some challenges these days. As soon as it enters Aquarius, it gets a square to Uranus. And coming up on retrograde means it's moving slower than usual. More than a month to pass over just 9 degrees. So the Uranus square remains in effect until mid-October. This will mean challenges as we try to become active in social groups and organizations. We're really going to feel a strong urge to become socially active right now. And that's going to bring a lot of fights within groups as new people try to enter and change the landscape. Even fights amongst friends can make for some real bitter disputes. It will be a difficult time for relationships. Not too much communal spirit. Hard time making adjustments for others and making compromises. Of special note, we're going to have Mars conjunct the South Node. It's going to be 3 passes of that due to the retrograde. It'll be June, July, and then in September. So during this time, we're going to have to come to terms with some elements of our past and be really cautious about not reopening old wounds, because that's what happens at the Mars conjunct the South Node. Okay, moving along to Wednesday, but really this, as you can see, is just past midnight, so the Mars square Uranus is really more in effect on Tuesday evening, and that'll be 29 degrees of Capricorn to 29 degrees of Aries. So this is the first of 3 passes, and I'll go over the other ones as we get there, but like I keep on saying, it's going to be in effect until October. And what this aspect does is it causes us to confront things or people that are different from us, usually with aggression. So as you might imagine, it can really bring up a lot of fights. We feel compelled to show the unique side of ourselves, brings up compulsive, sometimes strange or unpredictable behavior. Be careful in situations where accidents can happen. The fixed energy is hard to redirect. We're projecting so much psychic energy that it could manifest as mechanical breakdowns and even dangerous accidents. So use caution. Feeling very independent. Want to revolt against authority and responsibility. Attitude is very impersonal, objective, and utilitarian. Aspect could bring a sudden jolt to break you out of your regular patterns of thinking. It could be very upsetting. Best not to react with sudden anger. On a personal level, strong identity with the group and the need to get respect from others. As well as I was mentioning earlier, strong desire to get involved in social causes. Very demanding, ambitious, courageous, as well as daring and obnoxious. with that really sharp mind, able to think in the abstract, overly idealistic, but more intelligent than usual. The use of force to achieve your goals. Uranus and Aquarius like to bring things out into the open, where everyone can see. That's where you get equality and democracy. Any inequality you see in the world, even if it's not you being treated unfairly, you take it personally and you meet it with force. Take a strong stand on social issues and willing to fight for what you believe in, as well as inject yourself into the political discourse. I predict tons of activity on social media today, fights among people in the same group, as well as a desire to redirect society in some way. On a geopolitical level, it looks like a big event is in the works. Political explosion. Incredible political infighting like we haven't seen before. Uranus square Aquarius means some element of the group faces judgment. Something slams up against a brick wall. An event occurs where our awareness suddenly expands and is projected out so that we feel like an objective observer, looking at the situation from the outside. Something absolutely must be brought out into the light so everyone can see it. And as Trump drains the swamp creatures begin to fight one another. And that's what this aspect looks like to me. Finishing up on Wednesday in the afternoon, we've got the moon square Neptune. So we're feeling a little bit delusional, not thinking clearly, need to think on different levels, or just find peace with the blur. It helps to use your hands to make art. Moving along to Thursday, the 17th, in the late morning, moon conjunct Venus, for more warm and sensitive, wholesome outlook on life, good time to share with your partner. And then a void, of course, begins. It's really a nice day on Thursday. We got basically gentle aspects. As well, the moon enters Cancer, so moon begins a new cycle, more in touch with our emotional needs, not logical, more intuitive. Desire to spend time at home, crawl into your shell and do whatever makes you happy. And for gardeners, it's the absolute best time of the season to put the plants in the ground with this first quarter moon in Cancer. And then in the mid-afternoon, moon sextile Uranus, ambitious, yet in these signs, very helpful towards others. It's good for teaching and sharing. So the Uranus moon aspects take on a different flavor now that Uranus is in Taurus. Moving on to Friday, the 18th, a really big gardening day. So we have a moon sextile Mercury early in the morning, but also the moon opposition Saturn, inflexible and a bit fearful, not emotionally available for others, slows down the digestion. Remedy is to eat a warm meal, slowly. And then we've got the always wonderful Mercury trine Saturn happening on Friday, and that will be 8 degrees of Taurus to 8 degrees of Capricorn. It's really the best aspect for writing, slows down the mind, and gives good focus. In the natal chart, it's the mark of the author. Good mental focus, attention to detail, ability to correct yourself, see a job through to the finish, work alone if necessary. It looks mature because you can admit your mistakes, feeling more responsible, able to attend to duty and responsibility, even enthusiastic about it, because you like the feeling of accomplishing something worthwhile. Like to please authority figures and appreciate them rather than fear them. Very good day for any communications regarding your career or anything that would bring more stability and certainty to your life. A day to shore up loose connections, talk about what is important for you in the long term, your life goals and survival needs. It can be very therapeutic. Good day to see a therapist or an astrologer. Talking makes things more clear. And as well, politics takes on a conservative bent today, not a day for radicals. And then in Friday afternoon, 2 wonderful aspects. Moon trine Neptune, feeling warm and sympathetic, very sensitive, and the moon trine Jupiter, abundant warmth and good feelings. as well as giving us a big appetite. Cannot think of a better set of aspects to go along with this moon in Cancer, first quarter moon in Cancer, because you've got the trinity of the soul here, a grand trine happening in water signs. So that's really wonderful, very soulful, and it should just make the perfect time for planting. Okay, so moving along to Saturday, the 19th. Let's start with the Venus enters Cancer in the morning and will be there until June the 13th. A time for love and relationships at home in a stable, nurturing environment. Venus in Cancer enjoys the comforts of home. Good time to entertain guests at home. Bring beauty into the home. Decorate or paint your house. Plant flowers even. Venus trine Jupiter on the 1st and Venus trine Neptune on the 2nd. Two particularly pleasant and idyllic aspects, just like the moon in Cancer last night with trine to Neptune and Jupiter. That's going to be for Venus. It's going to be even stronger. It'll be really wonderful, very soulful. A couple of days, June 1st and 2nd. Although we will also be getting the Venus opposition Saturn on May the 25th, and that's going to bring up some relationship issues, as well as painful childhood memories and insecurities. And then we're also going to get a Venus opposition Pluto on the 5th. I'll talk about that when we get there. But right now we're having a really wonderful aspect on Saturday morning, the Venus sextile Uranus. So that's going to be 0 degrees of Taurus to 0 degrees of Cancer. Excuse me, the other way around, 0 Cancer to 0 Taurus. So very easygoing, liberal in the true sense of the term, not political. Just the opposite of the political sense these days. It's egalitarian, wanting to share and accept people who have different points of view. Aspect gives us the ability to love everyone, see the intrinsic value in everyone, want to teach and help others. Good day to meet a teacher. Expose yourself to something new and exciting to stimulate your mind. We enjoy being surprised today and enjoy the company of people who are different from us. Good time to be with friends and associates, and it's a good time for relationships. Very easy to get along with your partner. One of those times when it seems you could do anything and your partner would be accepting. No rigid or frigid attitudes. Very open-minded. Relationships that start today are non-traditional. No one wants to conform to social norms, and no one wants to be hemmed in by another or be codependent. Love of freedom and independence. Good time for abstract thinking, learning something new. In the natal chart, this aspect is the mark of a teacher. Very nice. As well, we've got the moon sextile Sun in the early afternoon on Saturday. Very easygoing aspect. Goes perfectly with the Venus sextile Uranus. And then later in the afternoon, after a short void of course, the moon enters Leo. We're more playful, energetic, dramatic, and romantic for the next couple of days. Good time to spend with your children. And then later in the afternoon, we've got the moon square Uranus. Stubborn, hard to communicate. It will be interesting to note how the tough moon-Uranus aspects will play out now that Uranus is in Taurus, a fixed sign. It should bring up a lot of stubborn emotions. I suspect it will be more disruptive as folks are stuck in their fixed ways and clash horns. And then later we've got the moon opposition Mars, another volatile aspect on Saturday in the late afternoon. Brings powerful encounters. Strong subconscious desires emerge. It's also very romantic though. It tends to bring partners together. It's a time of volatile emotions and delicate digestion. Okay, moving right along to Sunday, the 20th. Let's start with the Sun entering Gemini. It'll be in the late afternoon. So the Gemini month begins. as our creative energy is focused more on communication, speaking and writing, and short distance travel, all those Gemini things. Looking for things to stimulate the mind and use your hands in a creative way. It's great for writing and playing music. And then later in the evening, to end off the week, Moon square Jupiter. Very social, prone to excess or extravagant behavior, a big appetite, and a poor judgment. A void, of course, begins, and this is going to be an extra long one. The void, of course, that begins on Sunday the 20th does not end until Monday evening. So it's like an entire 24 hours of moon void, of course. All right, so that's all for this week's aspects. Okay, so moving along to major stories for this week, starting with California. They are in the midst of the first pass of their Uranus return. You'll see here at 29 degrees of Aries, including a Uranus conjunct Pluto, which is going to be happening on Monday the 14th. So immigration seems to be the issue around which the revolutionary spirit is taking hold. You know, interesting thing, Trump's shadow looms in California Attorney General race. This guy, Javier Becerra, you know, he's facing some problems because of what he's doing. So I'm anxiously awaiting to see what transpires this week and what's going to happen in the elections in early June. And I was doing a little bit of research on the state of California and the state of Jefferson, this part of the far north of California where they wanted to break off. You know, in November of 1941, there was a really big event where they tried to do that. So I ran a chart for that time, and I noticed that Neptune was conjuncting the Jupiter, as well as quincunxing Uranus and Pluto. So this gives me a lot of confidence, first of all, in the chart that we've been using. And just to note, when an outer planet touches this 29th degree and makes all these aspects, it seems to coincide with a lot of tumultuous activity in the state. So another reason to think something interesting is going on this week for the state of California. Okay, moving along to Eric Schneiderman. He's that New York Attorney General who just resigned. Another swamp creature goes down. He's been a major critic of Trump, so I thought I would take a look at his transits to see what's going on during his spectacular downfall and resignation. And, you know, he's got Jupiter conjuncting his Saturn these days. Well, that's kind of interesting. Jupiter certainly has brought legal proceedings to this guy. And Jupiter in Scorpio seems to be an active agent in exposing criminal activity. That seems to be one of the hallmarks of Jupiter in Scorpio these days. Looking at his moon. Now this is kind of interesting to me because he's going through this Jupiter trine Mars, which is generally a really nice transit to have. And I suspect that the moon is close. We don't have the correct birth time, but I suspect it might be in play as well. Because recall how this Scorpio to Pisces trine enables one to reclaim lost elements of self. And in this case, I think the lies of the woman, or women, I should say, because there's several, he has abused, in a way, are being reclaimed through this action. So it's like his transit is benefiting them. It's an interesting twist on it all. And I think it's really interesting to also to note the Mars conjunct Chiron. You'll see here at 27 degrees of Capricorn, also happening at this same time, along with Mars square Neptune. You'll see there at 27 degrees of Libra. Wow. You'll notice the guy's got these natal Chiron aspects that are really tough. I mean, the Chiron square Neptune, the Chiron opposition Jupiter and Uranus, and he's even got a Chiron quincunx Pluto. It's very interesting to see how Mars was activating that whole issue for him, as well as the recent Uranus squaring the Chiron. Just all this Chiron stuff with this guy and the issue of the pain that he likes to cause other people. And then suddenly it all comes up, right around the time of this Uranus square Mars, right on his Chiron. And of course, the Jupiter square Pluto is going to be coming up later on this year, along with a bunch of other transits. So I think this guy's going to be in the news again later this year as the story unfolds. But, for the curious, I thought that was a really interesting set of transits to go along with this guy's downfall. Okay, moving along to John McCain. He's already on his deathbed. Apparently he's been given a grim prognosis of his health problems. They began a while ago with Jupiter doing conjuncting Neptune and squaring his natal Jupiter and opposing his Saturn. And now we've got his Neptune coming in and opposing his natal Neptune. You'll see that precisely 16 degrees 8 minutes Pisces to Virgo, and that'll be on the 12th, Saturday. So the Neptune opposition Neptune brings a dissolving of his life. And I got this article here where he says to his dying breath, he regrets picking Palin, wants Pence, not Trump, at his funeral. Very interesting that, the Neptune opposition Neptune brings that because he's feeling a lot of regrets and disappointment. And that is commonly a Neptune thing. And Neptune's going to go retrograde at 16 degrees 29 minutes on June the 18th. So the second pass of this transit's going to be really close. For the next couple of months, he's just dissolving and feeling lots and lots of regrets and disappointment about his life. And then when that gets over, he gets Uranus squaring his moon. We do have his correct birth time. His moon at 2 degrees of Aquarius. So Uranus goes retrograde at 2 degrees 33 minutes in early August. So the first and second passes, again, they're going to be very close. He's going to have that Uranus square moon for a long time, as well as the Mars conjunct moon. And Mars making 3 passes over his moon at a time of delicate health is really foreboding. By the time Uranus goes direct again and reaches a quincunx to his Mercury over here at 16 degrees of Virgo, I think he should be completely out of the picture politically. But anyway, you can just see by his transits, he's having a pretty tough time right now. Okay, now I wanted to go over transits for Bill and Hillary. This recent Mars conjunct Pluto, which happened at 21 degrees of Capricorn, really hit him hard in that it made a quincunx to his natal Uranus at 21 degrees of Gemini. And no doubt, events around that time really threatened him, or he felt very threatened by what was happening. No doubt it was because the deep state was moving in closer on his wife and the Clinton Foundation. But by next month, the 13th, which is the same day that Mars is going to conjunct the South Node, things get really challenging for Bill. Saturn, currently retrograde, is going to make another square to his natal Neptune, soon after his Mars and his ascendant. Okay? So Saturn square Neptune on the same day as Mars is going to be conjuncting the South Node. You'll see it will be here at 8 degrees of Aquarius. So this could be a pretty big event for Bill. We're going to see what happens with him on this day. Just keeping an eye on him and his wife as the deep state kind of goes down now, and just watching how the major players are reacting to all of this. Both of them, by the way, look absolutely terrible. They look like death warmed over. They must be really threatened as well. Her, this Mars conjunct Pluto, again, it was at 21 degrees of Capricorn. For her, it made a quincunx to her Saturn at 21 degrees of Leo. So she too got a quincunx at that Mars conjunct Pluto aspect. How incredible that synchronicity is, huh? So she too felt very threatened. And this Friday, she's getting Neptune trining her Venus. 16 degrees of Pisces to 16 degrees of Scorpio. And this is as we come close to the aspect Jupiter trine Neptune, and that'll be on the 25th. And all of this is going to be right on top of her natal Venus. So the deep state that she was supposed to lead is now facing destruction. And what happens for her? Well, a Neptune trine Venus, it stimulates her idealism in relationships. That's what it does for regular folks like you and I. Or is there more to consider here? You know, it's a major aspect that we're looking at coming upon, this Jupiter trine Neptune. And she is bound to be the one who manifests it because it's right on top of her Venus. So symbolically, the Scorpio to Pisces trine is a great healing, which brings deliverance from a psychological problem, reclaiming lost elements of self. It's very soulful. It's a water trine. It could symbolically represent a great ending for her that really is a relief for the rest of us. It helps the rest of humanity. So I think that's kind of interesting. You know, we saw something recently with that guy Schneiderman, how that Jupiter trine to Pisces created something where it was good for other people, the women in his life who he'd been abusing. And now we've got something else here, a Neptune trine. You know, it's Venus, and it's right on top with this Neptune trine Jupiter. So to me, this is an interesting synchronicity. She gets the Neptune trine Venus this week on the 18th. And we'll see if that just kind of weakens her a little bit more, or if it just makes her really delusional. Okay, well, that's it for this week for Weekly Astrology Notes. Okay, so the image this week is Uranus in Taurus. And that's the real big event we've all been waiting for. And my website is now up and running. I mentioned again last week. And under the name tomsocalm.com, I'll leave a link in the description. And thank you to my subscribers and supporters that donate on a regular monthly basis through Patreon and PayPal. You'll find donation buttons for Patreon and PayPal in the lower right-hand corner of the flower image on my channel homepage, which is right here in the lower right-hand corner. I really do appreciate your support. It does take a lot of time and effort to put these reports together. And my Twitter feed, TomJordan364. Please follow me for announcements related to this channel and other topics. And I am an astrologer, so please contact me if you're interested in a natal or transit reading. I'm also available for consultations on a regular monthly basis, using astrology as a tool for life coaching. In addition, I'm a Reiki master, and if you're interested in a long-distance Reiki healing or a psychic reading, I do those as well. Please contact me at mobilestar7@yahoo.com or my weblog, where I post the transcript for these weekly videos. Again, the link is in the description. And that's all this week for Weekly Astrology Notes. Once again, thanks for viewing, liking, and sharing my video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Many blessings, and have a great day.